So this is a basic Ronin SC gimbal, and oh my god, it makes it so stable. But the lens was already stable when we were just handhelding it. But check this out, I'm gonna go outside and then I'll go for a little run.
Never break, always fight, never quit, do it right, play the game, win it life, have no shame, there's no time, feel the pain, live the grind, I could change, in my mind, pick a lane, commit and climb, the
At this point everything was recorded on the 23mm Viltrox. I love that lens, man, it's really good. But now I'm gonna switch to the 13mm and the rest of the video is gonna be on the 13mm Viltrox. As you can see, I have to stretch my arm and it's a stretch to fit in the frame. That's not gonna be the same with the 13mm, so let's see the difference. So here we are on the 13mm Viltrox f1.4 at f1.4 in autofocus. Oh my god, look at that wideness and that blur in the background. It's so pleasing, it looks amazing. I'm only looking at the camera screen first time, so this is the really initial reaction to what the lens does. And oh, I have to tell you, forgive me for my excitement, but this is my widest lens to date and I absolutely freaking love it. Oh, this is gonna be a game changer. So this is the 16 to 80mm lens at 16mm. The difference between 16, which was my widest up to this point, and 13mm is exactly this much. And this is the 13mm, oh my god. Well, check out the difference. Does it look wide? It does look amazingly wide. When I stretch my arm, this is how little I have to stretch. It's like halfway. And I'm touching the lens, the bottom of the lens. Yeah, I'm sitting so close and yet it's so wide. And the distortion isn't much. I can see the eye tracking working pretty good. I'm loving it so far. Pretty good, pretty good. Another great use case is if you shoot vlogs in handheld, I'm holding a camera in my arms, just like bending my arms pretty much like, you know, like that. And yet everything else is in the frame. Everything fits into the frame. And if I stretch my arm, it's a wide shot, which looks amazing. And it's especially useful if you're in a car, for example, because the place is super tight. And with the 23mm, I find not a lot is in focus. It's only your face, but it doesn't show where you are or it doesn't show movement. But with this one, it's pretty good. And also look at the stabilization. Oh, it's pretty impressive. Let's run a little bit and see how it handles. I think it's because of the weight, you know, it's 420 grams and the ibis is turned on, you know, but I'm running here, so that's pretty So far I'm finding the lens very sharp. The depth of field, because it's a wider lens, it's not going to be too narrow. It's pretty wide, so that helps you out to be in focus all the time. It's not just my eyes and my nose out of focus, but my whole face, even at f1.4 like we're shooting right now, is going to be in focus. And of course the closer you get, let me show you, the smaller the depth of field is going to be, but even the closest focusing distance is not actually that bad at all. So I only had the lens for 2 days at this point, but what I find so far is that it's going to be the perfect lens for my gimbal. So although it doesn't have OIS, optical image stabilization, but if you put it on the Fujifilm XT4, which has IBIS, and you stick it on the gimbal, then it will be a perfect combination, especially because it's a wide angle lens, and the wider you go, the less stabilization you need. And also the weight will help to stabilize the image as well, because it's not on the heavy side, but it's not the lightest lens either. At 420 grams, it feels really good, it feels solid. Okay, we're on the gimbal, check this out. Is it stable? It is super stable. Has to be stable, right? So check this out, I'm gonna go for a little running, and yes, I'm holding the gimbal, and oh my god, is it stable? It's just not like a crazy person. So I was briefly checking the sun stars, changed the aperture between f1.4 to f16 to see the differences. And what I was surprised with, there's a lot of flares and dots and different colors that kind of showed up randomly, and I wonder if it's part of the lens or is it the ND filter. The ND filter isn't the cleanest, and I need to give it a good scrub to see if it's actually just the filter or the dust particles, you know, in the filter, or is it part of the lens. So this is something I'm going to test further down the line. For the full review, I'll definitely look into these flares. But I have to say in the same time that so far I did like it, and I do like a little bit of flaring, you know, and it looks fantastic. I think, you know, it's kind of like it's a good look in my eyes, you know. You're shooting in front of the sun, you're facing the sun, then you do want to get those flares, and especially when you movement, it kind of adds a bit of depth and it adds a bit of movement into the shot. So the reason I felt like I needed this 13mm Viltrox lens is because sometimes 16mm simply wasn't wide enough. For example, I was shooting dancers, and at 16mm they didn't really fit into the frame perfectly, and I couldn't move further back. You know, your space is limited and the room is limited, and not only that, but lighting is usually not ideal for these kind of circumstances, and the faster aperture definitely helps you out there big time. f1.4 versus f4 on the 16 to 80 lens is a big difference. While we're outside, I find another great thing is look at this weather. I mean, it's pure garbage. It's kind of overcast, a little bit sunny, but if you record anything outdoors in a weather like this, then it's never going to look good. It's the most boring looking environment always, and most of the times, unfortunately, we have this weather in Ireland, so yeah, I have to deal with it. But what I find is with this lens, it looks pretty good. It's almost like golden hour cinematic shots, you know, so that's very impressive. You know, that is definitely a bonus. But by the way, if you want to check out the full review, I'm going to come out with a in-depth full review in a week or in 2 weeks time, so make sure to sign up to my channel and hit that notification bell.